There are sponsorships based on business relationships. There are H-1Bs that are professional visas. There are Ls. There are labor certifications. And then there's E-visas where if you want to invest a lot of money in the United States in a legitimate business, let's say you want to open a bunch of hair braiding salons or mechanic shops, and you come from Senegal and you have $500,000 to invest in your business, not just to throw away, but to invest, you can get a green card and your whole family can get a green card. The other way is a labor certification. Labor certifications take a very long time. And I have a lot of people who say, I'm a specialty chef, I cook, for this restaurant, and I've been waiting 7 years for my labor certification. And I kind of look at them and say, well, let's see what else we can do for you. Because they take a long time, and you have to show that only this person can do that kind of job. It's very, very tricky. Sometimes they do get processed after a long time, but when somebody comes to me with the hope of that happening, unless I see receipts and I see the advertising was done and they got the approval and now they want to, I kind of say, well, you can leave that, but let's see what else we can do for you now. The third is the H-1B. H-1B, you have to be in valid visa status when you apply. You have to show that you're college educated or you have about 12 years of experience. So even if you're a chef and you never went to college, but you're a chef and you've been working 15 years cooking special Walla food, you might qualify for an H-1B. But you have to be in status when you make that application. Okay? But those are business-sponsored immigration relief. Yes, sir. Yes.
I see in
Okay. Mm-hmm. You're whispering. I can't hear you. Yes.
After the United States, and you want to apply marriage.
Right. Well, the question is, if on a LULAC application a person puts the wrong date of birth, and then a few years later they have a real marriage and they want to get their green card based on marriage. It's a very tricky question. Most likely they're going to pull the LULAC case. And at that point, you could be denied your green card application because you lied on that before. A lot of that has discretion within the realm of the officer that interviews you. But I do recommend that you put your real date of birth, your real full correct name, and just move forward that way. I don't know if the person knew that somebody put a different date of birth. I don't know if they did it intentionally. So it's a little bit of a tricky question, but there is a chance they could still do the marriage case. Did they say they were from another country? Now that's what I see a lot. People say they're from Mauritania. They did a whole asylum application saying they're from Mauritania, and they're from Senegal. So not only is this bad, it's wrong, because poor Mauritanians were having their arms chopped off for real. You know this. And then people took advantage of that, saying they're from Mauritania. So not only is that wrong, it's also going to get you in trouble. Because later on, like your friend finds the true love of his life and gets married, now he says, what do I do? Say I'm from Mauritania or say I'm the truth that I'm from Senegal? He's in a jam. He's in a bind. And that'll be a problem for him. And that's a real problem. Okay. Sir? Okay, that's a very good question. So you're saying someone came to the United States, they have 10 years on the cancellation of removal, they've been good people, no problems with the police, and they have American children, they don't want to go back to Africa. But they have not paid taxes. Most judges will accept taxes that are filed after the fact. They're called back taxes. So people come to me more often than not and they say, I paid for the past 2 years because I got a Social Security card when I did my LULAC case. But I've been here 15 years, so I didn't pay all those other years, and I was working. What should I do? What I tell them is pay back taxes. Be honest. Go to the accountant and say, look, I was doing a car wash for 2 years when I came here. Then I started working as a cab driver, and this is what I made pretty much every year, but I made cash money, and I had no Social Security. He or she can file those back taxes for the estimated amount, and you can go on a payment program with the IRS. Now, when we go before the judge, there's 1 or 2 judges that we've been before that are very difficult, and they say, you know what? This is not good moral character. You should have paid taxes. You should have gotten a tax ID number, and I'm not going to forgive you for this. On the appeal, we're usually successful. And the board will say, no, he's a good man. He at least paid after he got his Social Security number. But most of the judges will accept those taxes, and they'll also accept amended taxes. I get guys who come in, they got 3 children here, they got 4 children back in Senegal. I look at their taxes, it says $8,000. How are you feeding your children? You're not taking any welfare. One of the great things about my West African Senegalese cases is most of them don't take welfare. That shows good moral character. The man says, I feed my children. I'm a proud African man. I don't need welfare. I don't need food stamps. Now this is good. This makes the case strong. But then the judge says, oh really? What are they eating? Because how are you supporting the kids back home and your family and the children you have here and your wife on $8,000? So when I see the taxes, say, look, this is what you have to do. You have to go back to your accountant and say, for these years, I was making other cash money, selling things on the street, doing a part-time job, or my wife was working hair braiding, but we were getting paid in cash and I didn't know I had to necessarily pay taxes on that. You amend your taxes, and we have a chart. It's called the poverty level chart. We didn't write the chart. The U.S. government wrote the chart. So if you have a family of 3, it will tell you, in order for you to live above the poverty level, you should be making something in the low 20s. If you have 5 or 6 children, you got to show me returns in the 30s at least. Because one person in New York is $13,000 before you're living below the poverty level. Okay? But you can amend your taxes. So that's one of the things a lawyer will do is before you even start the case, let's look at your taxes. Let me tell you what you need to do to straighten this out. Okay? Because if you don't, in the end, you're going to lose. And nobody's going to be happy. So make the decision to fix those taxes. If it's not now, maybe it'll be in a year or 2. And get that organized. Amadou. Right. Well, they're going to say to you, tell me how you ate. Tell me how you paid your apartment rent. Now, if you say, my family's rich, look, every month they wired $5,000. And you, from the Bank of America, the Bank of Dakar, goes to Chase, and you can show that, then you're fine, because you're going to say, I didn't need to work. I was studying. But if you can't show that, they're going to say, you're not telling us the truth. You were working. And it's more important to tell the truth if you're filing this application, because the judge has to see you as an honest person if you're filing this cancellation of removal application. Okay? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, once again? That's a good question. A lot of people came in 12 years ago, 5 years ago, they did LULAC, they got advanced parole, and they're going back and forth to Senegal. Excellent point, because that involves that first point. Have you been here for 10 years, continuous presence? If those trips, if one trip was more than 90 days, it breaks the 10 years. For example, you entered in 2000. You did LULAC 2005, so happy, so excited, you got an advanced parole document, I could go home and see my mother. And you stayed there for 4 months, or 3 months and 5 days. You came back, you come to my office, say, look at my passport. I was here for 10 years, I have U.S. citizen children, I have a great business, I'm paying taxes, I want to do this case and get a green card. And we count the days that you were out, and we see it was 3 months, and then 3 months, and you were over just by a week, 95 days, for example. From immigration's perspective, your entry starts counting in 2005. So I have to look at you and say, I know you feel like you've had 10 years, but you've only had 6 years. We have to start counting from that date. So it's a 90-day period. So if you're going to travel with advanced parole, keep it under 3 months. Keep it at least 2 weeks under 3 months, so there's no qualm about it. But also, you can't go every year for 3 months, for 10 years, because you will exceed the total amount, which is 190 days in the aggregate. So if you went once or twice and it was only for a few weeks or 2 months, you're okay. But that's what a lawyer will do. Many times we've given, 1,000 stamps in the passport, UAE, Dakar, but I said, go home, read your stamps, come back, count the days, and tell me the days. If we can do it for you, we will. But we need you to be responsible to know how many days you were out. So if we tell you you can do it, you understand why. If we tell you you can't, you understand why.